month your parole gets repeatedly denied. It's the month that says, here's a crap load of enormous problems. Oh yeah. And here's a grocery list of crap you need to change about yourself, because the rest of the year, you're an overindulgent, self-destructive child. Big change. The type you have to make in order to pull yourself out of a turd landslide is different. It's scary and it requires 100 times more work than just regular living. Digging yourself out of a hole isn't about survival. It's about pulling ahead. In doing that, there are some basics that, in my experience, have to happen. Or, at the very least, they make the shoveling a whole lot less brutal. For instance, five, you have to hit a breaking point. Some of you just read that title and scream directly into the monitor. No way! I've had so many breaking points in the last few years, my life has turned into a movie about undercover cop surfers. I hate you! It seems obvious to the point of being insulting, doesn't it? Trust me, it's not. I've seen more than often than not people, including myself, who get so used to a crappy situation, they simply surrender to it. That's just like being a boo-boo to me once again. Guess I'll take off my pants and get this over with. We consider our breaking point to be that moment when we get super peed off about the catastrophe and snap like an overstretched cock ring. What we tend to overlook is that frustration isn't an action, it's a reaction. And while that reaction is totally necessary and justified, it's not a breaking point any more than shifting rainbows when things are going well is, you know. Going a step further, most people will follow up their "this is BS" moment with the declaration that they're finished living that way. Although it's not the breaking point, it's a very, very good start. It doesn't matter what the situation is, bad relationship, addiction, financial buttocks, without that decision to improve it, you're going to stay exactly where you are, or worse. I stayed in this rut for 30 years before I finally realized that the breaking point isn't real until you combine it with action. Not the decision to act, but full on get off your chair right now and put your butt into motion action. No, I'm not talking about twerking, unless your breaking point is realizing that you don't twerk nearly enough to live a happy, productive life. In which case, you're my kind of people. So you get mad, you make a plan to change a situation, you get up and start enacting that plan, and 3 weeks later, you're right back where you started. What happened? Has karma just doomed you to a life of suck? Why even bother putting in all this work if you're never gaining ground? Well, 4, you have to accept that the process is slow. Here's some quick math for you. I just said that it took 30 years for me to have my legitimate breaking point. I am 39 years old. I've only been in a good place financially and emotionally for about 4 years. What happened to the other 5? The intimidating truth is that big changes like this take time. Sometimes, as in my case, it takes years. If you get rich quick schemes worked, if breaking up or fixing a relationship was easy, if ending addiction just required willpower and decision to quit, nobody would have problems ever again. We all be rich and grinding genitals and virtual deities. It's insanely hard and it takes time. Yeah, and it takes time. It really does. I mean, you got to get with it. That's why you have to start now. It's why that breaking point doesn't mean anything until there's action. Because without that action, it's just you complaining about your problems. The sooner you start building your monster truck of life, the sooner you can start ramping and running over stuff with it. Nobody's going to drive one up to your door and hand you the keys. It becomes a huge trap to many people because it feels like you're doing 10 times the work for zero change in status. You're working extra hours, but you're still broke at the end of the month. You worked your butt off to mend a fractured relationship, but you still fight all the time. No matter how many times you do the hand solo dance, you can't get your hips to swing effortlessly enough, So there are so many positive changes that take place under the radar that you won't really notice them until you look back on it from a safe distance. I'm making $500 extra per month. Where the heck is it going? Oh, that's right. You started actually stocking your refrigerator with real food. You filled up your tank instead of pumping $3 worth of gas. You pay back all the mafia bosses you owe money to instead of letting them take your finger like you usually do. 3, you have to be willing to change yourself. By far the biggest excuse I've heard and used to avoid escaping a butthole is, I don't want to change who I am. Or the variation, I don't want to become something I'm not. I'm not going to BS around with this. That's a dumb BS reason built totally by a general fear of change. If you don't get over that now, you might as well resign yourself to your current life forever. It's not just a hurdle. It's a flush row of skyscraper-side things between you and your goal. And it's the hardest thing to accept, let alone put into action. Because I don't think a lot of people realize that their personality is in a constant state of evolution. When they imagine themselves in the future, their success is packaged as a soulless movie villain who forgot how to enjoy life, their true self, having been lost to years of work and sacrifice. You start to wonder if your dream of having surgically implanted Wolverine claws is even worth it. It is dumb. Crazy dumb. Really, really dumb. Like the big dumberer, dumb, and the big dumb. Staying true to yourself does not mean never changing anything about yourself. It means allowing your mind to grow and improve like it was designed to do. It means keeping the good parts of yourself intact and weeding out the bad stuff that holds you back. This is not an unfortunate truth. It is an extremely fortunate one because it means that you don't have to be an emotional hoarder, saving back every scrap of experience and all the bad habits you picked up because that's just another part of what makes me who I am. Man, that's a bunch of bull. The bad stuff is what's preventing you from achieving what you're capable of becoming. If being yourself ever comes with a cost, such as living in poverty or fear or misery, it's time to re-examine and redefine what actually makes you who you are. And sometimes that means, too, you have to question lifelong beliefs. Hundreds of people in my life have told me that the only person I could ever count on is myself. Hundreds of movies and songs have told me that I have to learn to trust and depend on others to help me out of bad situations. Churches point to God. Governments point to their own systems. Kanye West, well, he's the same as the church example, except he points his finger at his own chest. Who is right? The truth is, it's all a soupy mix that changes from person to person. That's what you have to examine. Have you avoiding shooting for your dream job because you've been told all your life that being rich is one-way ticket to spiritual doom? Are you with an abusive or destructive person because you have a kid together and are now morally obligated to stay? Or maybe there's a drug that's destroying your life, but you keep doing it because you've always been told that it's harmless. Your problems have to be coming from somewhere else, right? Maybe it's that you're too perfect. Maybe it's time to biopsy these tumors and find out if they need to be removed. Examining these beliefs is not a small deal. If I had hung on to every lesson my family taught me, I'd be a racist drug dealer calling in sick to a factory job that I hate and dealing with DCFS every other month. I'd be stealing money from my grandmother and teaching my kids about sex by showing them a hardcore porno. You have to be willing to question it all, even the stuff that seems to be innocent and correct. What worked for your parents isn't necessarily going to work for you. This is the part of what makes the whole process so slow. Beliefs are ingrained into your personality like nerve endings. Changing or removing them doesn't happen overnight. It can take years of personal experience to modify, because beliefs aren't just something you choose to agree with. They're something you know for a bona fide fact, even if they're wrong. You have to be open to the idea that maybe they are. 1, you have to accept that there's no finish line. Since I started working for Cracked, I've made numerous financial leaps that I didn't even know were possible for a guy like me. I've been making steady changes to my personality for half a decade because depression has been punching my stomach for my entire life. I far surpassed the goals I set for myself 4 years ago. So I made it, right? My problems are resolved and it's just happy, happy, happy. Roll credits. Remember that whole evolution thing I talked about earlier? That never stops. That's the nature of the human brain. You don't stop playing the game when you hit level 2. You get better armor and more BS spells, and you move on to the next quest. I still have financial problems, just in new ways. Are they as bad as when I used to buy gas with pocket change? Heck no. I wouldn't go back to that at gunpoint. But the problems are there. I'm just better equipped to deal with them now. It's the same with depression. I still deal with it because that's not something you just cure. It's something you manage. If you're not prepared for this fact, you're going to find yourself woefully disappointed in 5 years when you look back and tally up your progress. You'll be so used to having the things that you once considered luxuries, like being able to use the air conditioner or buying underwear, that you overlook them and think, I have no more money in the bank now than I did 5 years ago. What the hell? Wow. Or maybe in the process of working on your relationship, you've learned how to argue without being buttholes to each other. Once you're used to that style of communication, it's easy to look back and say, we put so much work into this, but we still argue about everything. Should I set the house on fire? You're not realizing the enormous progress you've made in how you communicate. All you see is we're still just casting spells at monsters, and all that progress won't feel like progress at all. But that's how we grow. You have to recognize when it happens. You've stopped battling pigs in the forest, and now you moved on to demons in the sprawling dungeon. I sincerely have to stop playing World of Warcraft. John is an editor and columnist right here at Cracked with a new article every Thursday. You can also find him on Twitter and Facebook. Always be on the go, but can't get enough of Cracked? We have an Android app and iOS reader for you to pick from so you never miss another article. Are you a fan of money? Establishing everlasting glory, but really just money? We want to give you that, particularly the money part. Enter as many designs as you want into our t-shirt contest, and you just might win $500. There goes another opportunity, guys, and that is our EDU for our lives and our quote for the day. Yeah, you can clap now. So we got through that episode 2. I know everybody's used to doing what they're going to do. You grown, you're going to do whatever you want to do. Some of you kids going to do whatever you want to do. Just do what's best. Take care of you. So that's basically all I had to say. So good afternoon, morning, and evening. Whenever you hear this, it's pre-recorded after 9:30. And I will see you soon on the next show. Peace.
We are now transferring you to a customer care rep. Please hold the line and we will answer your call as soon as possible. Thank you for choosing. By the way, to ensure you're getting great service, your call may be recorded or monitored.